What's up guys, name is Dre and welcome to another Genshin Impact video. In today's video I want to talk about if Blackcliff poll is worth to pick up for Xiao, because you only will have like 4 days left to pick this up if you want to. Xiao's banner will be live during the next week and then you won't have the availability of Blackcliff poll anymore. The Star Glitter shops resets every new month. February is in about 4 days. Now let's go over Blackcliff pole as a weapon first, then I want to show you like your other options and then talk about if it is worth or not. Now Blackcliff Polyarm has crit damage as a substat, has a 42 base attack, and its ability is press the advantage after defeating an opponent. Attack is increased by 12% for 30 seconds. This effect has a maximum of 3 stacks and the duration of each stack is independent of the others. So right now I can tell you that I already picked up 1 copy of the Blackcliff pole, which is why I only have 2 left. So you usually can pick up to 3 of these weapons. They do rotate every month. So I think the last time this was 2 or 3 months ago. There would be like, so starting from now, if there are no new weapons, then you will have the chance to pick this weapon up again in 2 to 3 months. Now, actually the weapon is really good, but only because I did pick it up. I don't want you guys to pick it up right now. I want to show you your other options first. The reason why I did pick it up is because I want to do a weapon comparison for Xiao next week. I want to show you guys like different weapon options and then you want to see like the actual numbers. But for now, the alternative or the best alternative to this is the deathmatch. But the deathmatch is only available if you did buy the battle pass. If you're not buy the battle pass, then this of course is not the option. And if you guys want me to decide between deathmatch and the Blackcliff Polyarm, then I would say deathmatch is the better option. Why is because deathmatch is much more consistent. Now let's go over deathmatch. Deathmatch has a lower base attack, or has one of the lowest base attacks of the polyarms actually in the game, but it has crit rate, which is a very valuable substat. Xiao, if you guys do not know, also has crit rate as his substat. Then you have already like 40% plus crit rate. You won't need much crit rate to go over 50%, so you can focus more on crit damage, especially for the circlet. You only need like a random circlet, could be a bad one, and you will have like really nice crit rate, crit damage ratios picking up the deathmatch. The other effect is if there are at least 2 opponents nearby, attack is increased by 16% and defense is increased by 16% too. And if there are less than 2 opponents nearby, attack is increased by 24%. The good thing on this weapon is that you can always make use of this weapon. So in any type of content. Doesn't matter if you are open world farming, spiral abyss, world bosses or weekly bosses, you will always trigger one of those buffers, 16% attack and 16% defense against like most of the content in the game. But if you're like fighting against bosses, then you get the attack increase, which is way more useful than the Blackcliff Polyarm in my personal opinion. So if you guys want to know, best 4-star option in my opinion is deathmatch. If you can afford the battle pass, then I wouldn't really consider to go for the Blackcliff Polyarm if you can afford this. Unfortunately, I don't have a deathmatch and I cannot afford this in time. Maybe I will pick it up and do like a week later, but because Xiao's banner is only 2 weeks, I have a very short time to put out content to him and I cannot afford deathmatch in the first week of Xiao's release. So I cannot show deathmatch next week, but I will of course show all the other options. Now besides deathmatch, we have some more different options. Now we have Favonius Lance and we have Crescent Pike as the free-to-play weapon, and we have Prototype Crutch. So let me go to the blacksmith real quick for that, so I can show you also the effect of Prototype Crutch. I like something to make and prototype. Oh no, it is Prototype Star Glitter. The name is Prototype Star Glitter of the. This has energy recharge and 42 base attack. After using elemental skill, increases normal and charge attack by 8% for 12 seconds. Has a maximum of 2 stacks. I think Prototype Star Glitter and Crescent Pike are not as strong options like Prototype Crescent for Ganyu. So I think Prototype Crescent is insanely good for Ganyu as a 4-star weapon, and it is a free-to-play weapon. Prototype Star Glitter and Prototype and Crescent Pike, these two are the free-to-play options. I think they're like alright, but if you could pick up another 4-star weapon, then I would rather pick those instead of these two. So Crescent Pike, I think still is the better option than Prototype Star Glitter, even though it has physical damage bonus as a substat, and Xiao won't make too much use of physical damage bonus because you mostly want to use him in his ultimate where he only does a Nemo damage. But after picking up an Elemental Orb or Particle, which he will do eventually, and also Crescent Pike has a very high base attack. It has one of the highest base attacks of the 4-star spears. Normal and charge attacks deals an additional 20% attack damage for 5 seconds, so this one you can make use of, but you cannot really make use of this, and this would be potential that would go away. But the Crescent Pike will win because it has high base attack. Now, if you really have nothing, go for Crescent Pike. And now let's go back, of course, and talk about Blackcliff Polearm. Blackcliff Pole, the downsides on this weapon is you have to defeat an opponent to get this buff. It has a like okay-ish base attack. It is higher than the one from Deathmatch, but lower than the one from Crescent Pike. Crit damage is a very valuable substat, of course, so then you can put crit rate on your circlet. But downside on this weapon is you have to defeat an opponent. This weapon is only really strong if you can pick up the effect by defeating an opponent of at least 12% attack. If you can get like all these stacks, 36%, this weapon will easily can compete even with the 5-stars. So talking about Primordial Jade, Vortex Vanquisher, Skyward Spine. These 3 weapons will always beat the 4-star weapons in terms of raw damage if we do not count in those passives. But if we count in the passives, Blackcliff Pole, I think, will be the only 4-star weapons that even can go into the territory of the 5-star weapons, but you will need stacks. So if we look at the content in the game currently, you cannot get stacks by defeating world bosses or weekly bosses. So any type of boss content, you cannot use the effect. So you will only be able to use the raw stats. For then, it is, of course, still better than Crescent Pike, Prototype Star Glitter, but it is not as nearly good as Deathmatch. Deathmatch is way more consistent when it comes to that. When you fight like Spiral Abyss or open world content, then of course the weapon is a possibility. But when we look at 4-star weapons, I would say just before the release, of course, after testing, I could change my opinion. But now, pre-release Xiao, I think Deathmatch is his strongest 4-star weapon, even if the base attack is the lowest. Second best will be Blackcliff Pole, because still though, it will deal the most damage because you have crit damage as a substat. And if you are able to stack the weapon, it is very good. Now, if you cannot afford a damage because you do not buy the battle pass, then I actually would recommend to buy this, even if it costs you 24 of the Masterless Stardust. How is it? Yeah, Masterless Star Glitter. Even if it costs you 24, it is 5 single summons. Actually, if we round this up to 25, these are 5 single summons alternatively, and nearly a 4-star character. But let me explain you why you should pick this up, because your other option, this weapon is way better than all the other options in the game besides Deathmatch when it comes to 4-stars. So I can tell you this right now. So if you do not have the possibility to pick up Deathmatch, pick Blackcliff Pole. But if you don't have 24-star Masterless Star Glitter, then I totally can understand it if you won't be able. The next option after Blackcliff Pole, Deathmatch, and all the other weapons that I showed, which are Favonius, Lance, and Crescent Pike, there is still the possibility that the next month there will be a new rotation in the shop for those weapons. The possibility that I see is the Royal Weapons. Royal Weapons won't be as good as Blackcliff Pole, so I won't pick up Royal Weapons. Then I would rather pick the Crescent Pike or the Favonius Lance. Favonius Lance has a pretty good base damage. And we can look at the Favonius Lens. Do I have one at level 1? Yeah. It has 44 and it has energy recharge, which is like alright. The passive is also alright, so you can ult more often, but you will lose a bit on damage. This is like the next best thing to Crescent Pike. So Crescent Pike has the passive and high base attack, and Favonius Lens has high base attack, energy recharge, which you can make use of. So the downside on Crescent Pike is the substat. The downside on Favonius Lens is the passive that you do not really need or is not really necessary at all for Xiao. But it is still a compatible weapon to Crescent Pike, but not compatible to Blackcliff Pole or Deathmatch at all. Royal Spear is like on the territory on Crescent Pike and Favonius Lance in my opinion, but I wouldn't pick this up because I don't think the passive is good enough. It has attack percent as a substat, which is like okay, but consider that it costs 24 Merciless Star Glitter again, then I would rather go for a Favonius Lance or a Crescent Pike. Then there is the option that there could come a very new weapon series in the shop. But there's no guarantee because by then you won't have the chance for Blackcliff Pole. So I won't talk about a new series, but I just want to throw it in to keep you guys track of it. Now, to give this video an end and come to a conclusion, number 1, pre-release Xiao Deathmatch. Number 2, Blackcliff Pole. Number 3, Favonius Lance or Crescent Pike if you do not have another option. Yeah, alright guys, I think I could help you a little bit out with your decision. If I could help you out, like, comment, and subscribe. Would help me out a lot, and I'll see you guys next time. If you guys want to see more Genshin Impact content, videos should pop up on the screen right now. Make sure to check them out, and I thank you for your support.